Anyway, so Kirk says, "Did you hear him joke about compassion? Of all else, a god needs compassion." And then Dehner shoots back, "What do you know about gods?" And Kirk says, "Then let's talk about humans, about our frailties. As powerful as he gets, he'll still have all that inside him." She says, "Go back." And then he grabs a hold of her and he says, "You were a psychiatrist once. You know the ugly, savage things we all keep buried that none of us dare expose. But he'll dare. Who's to stop him? He doesn't need to care. Be a psychiatrist for 1 minute longer. What do you see happening to him? What's your prognosis, doctor?" And then she turns and says, "He's coming." And Kirk snaps to and he looks around. And then he turns to her and says, "Then watch him. Hang on to being a human for 1 minute longer." And there's something about that line that just really clicks with me. Kirk's final line there says, or can say, if we want to think of it that way, it can say to all of us, watch, keep watching as you're sitting in front of your Star Trek episode, keep watching and hang on to being a human for 1 minute longer. Of course, in context, he's been asking her to hang on to being a psychiatrist, to hang on to being someone who knows what goes on inside a person. So when he says hang on to being a human, he's kind of implying a mix. Hang on to being a psychiatrist, i.e. an observer of humans, and also hang on to being a human yourself instead of something that is less than that or something that is more than that, such as a god. Hang on to being a frail and imperfect, non-divine human being who's able to observe and know other frail and imperfect, non-divine human beings. Keep on being not just a merely human psychiatrist, but also a truly human psychiatrist in the positive sense of the virtues of humanity. Now, here's something else, and you'll have to forgive me for taking my liberties here. I know that I'm taking some liberties here, but here's the thing. If a psychiatrist, as discussed in this scene, is basically standing in for an observer of human nature, that's what they mean by it, then it's not really all that different from being a Trekkie, is it? Since Star Trek is about exploring human nature, exploring the human condition. So you could say he's basically telling her, be a Trekkie for 1 minute longer. Don't lose sight of the human nature of yourself and those around you. Don't get lost in the allure of the false mythology. Be a Trekkie for 1 minute longer. Be a psychiatrist. Be a human. And watch him. Watch with knowledge and believe what you see. And here's the thing. I think that message that Kirk says, watch, hang on to being a psychiatrist for 1 minute longer, I think that's a message that we all need to hear, because we get so shocked when we see the corruption of power around us, or the unexpected vices that leap out like xenomorphs out of seemingly good people. And at other times, we just get swept along in the machinations of those who use their power along with some kind of dazzling mythology that props them up, and we don't even notice. And just like Dehner, we find ourselves shocked at the discovery or simply deceived by something we haven't yet uncovered. It's kind of like the bedazzlement of living life moment by moment has caused us to forget these diverse parts of human nature, to forget about compassion, and to forget about the darkness that hides inside every one of us. Or to forget about both at once, like Mitchell and Dehner, who both lost sight of true humanness with virtues like compassion, while also simultaneously losing sight of the dreadful darkness that lurks just under the skin. And as far as I'm concerned, if you'll forgive me for the liberty I'm taking here, as far as I'm concerned, Kirk's voice rings out from the television sets of the late 60s. It rings out through the decades to every single one of us saying, be a human, be a psychiatrist, be a Trekkie for 1 minute longer, and watch. Watch him, watch them, watch yourself, and believe what you see. With caution and humility, setting your feet as best you can toward careful living and wisdom.